option in order to make sure that the people's opinion are represented. And what the opposition today tells us that we should not implement referenda is due to the fact that we already elect representatives and that they are the ones who represent your interests and so on and so forth. But today we see that this is not always the case, because we see today that we should have the right to oppose of one of their policies who disadvantages you as a citizen and who disadvantages the society as a whole. You should have the right to abide in referenda, not an advisory one, abiding one who gives the powers to people to decide on these kinds of important issues. So first of all, the first point brought by the opposition was the fact that is going to weaken the democracy. And we are saying that, on the contrary, it's going to improve it. It's the fact that you are going to have, a more efficient representation when people are going to have the chance to directly inform. And moreover, we are not agree with the fact when the opposition team claims today that the sovereignty should have a parliament. It's held by the parliament, because this is only the particular case of parliamentary democracy. And today we're speaking about all the representative democracy. And moreover, we do not consider that people are incapable. We consider that it is the right of the people to decide on these issues, because this is the fundament of a democracy. This is on what democracy bases upon. And the opposition team today is telling us, well, we should not in any case let people decide on treaties that concern Europe and that concern constitutional and so on and so forth. But today see that this is already happening. This is a condition that Europe puts, when you are adherent to the European Union. People already have abiding referenda on these issues that affect Europe. So you let them be capable to decide on these kind of important issues, but on the other hand, you consider them incapable to decide on controversial issues, on moral issues, and such as an example, moral issues that concern nuclear power, because these important issues, we are not referring at fiscal issues, at issues that the majority of the population will agree, such as decreasing taxes and so on and so forth. This referenda will be held on important issues of general interest. Moreover, we see that the opposition team actually agrees with that some politicians may be incapable. Therefore, the citizens should have the right to change their policies when they are not when they do not agree with it. Moreover, the opposition team brought as a third point the fact that referendums are not popular through people. But we see that they are not popular due to the fact that they are advisory ones, that people cannot actually change one. And the example in UK was called by the government, and people were not interested because as we already mentioned, as we already defined, this sovereign referenda will be called by the people on matters of general interest, which will affect them directly, and in which they would desire to involve. So we do not consider that referenda will be a weakening of the democracy. It's going to be an improvement, since you are going to have more involved citizens, since we are going to give them the power to do this, since you are going to make them, since you are going to create an incentive for engagement, and since you are going to make citizens more capable and so on and so forth, which I'm going to present in my own society. But first of all, let's just see what we brought in our first argument. We brought the fact that representative democracy right now it's incomplete without a referendum, which is a direct instrument that improves and that translates. And we say that representativity is inefficient when you have a population that is not well represented in all the decisions that the state makes. And in these three cases in which you are not well represented, or another policy that you are not represented, and in which the state makes decisions that are not well corresponding to you, you should have the right to impose your own opinion and your own opinion and your own decisions. And the fact that this is what about democracy is: transferring the power in the hands of the people. Moreover, we see referenda as an educational instrument, which will be a huge benefit for the society as a whole. Before making a referendum, we will have referendum campaigns who will serve to inform and educate the electorate on specific issues that are going to be debated. Therefore, we are not going to have incapable and unsecure citizens who do not know why are they going to a referendum.
Yes, so how much you suppose will they cost, and moreover, how many people are going to involve themselves to educate in such complex issues those ordinary citizens?
Do you know that moral issues are not that complex as the opposition makes us believe? Citizens are not that incapable. You can decide on problem that affects you directly. You, as citizens, have the right to decide on these decisions. So it's not anymore a problem of capability. Moreover, since we are going to have these referendum campaigns through mass media, through internet, and so on and so forth, the citizens are going to be more informed on these particular issues. So more informed citizens, we are going to have even more capable ones. And also we are going to promote political knowledge. But the biggest benefit will be that we have a polarized society. A society in which people will start to receive information and automatically they will be sustaining one side. And we are going to have some people that sustain one side and others that are, that sustain the opposite one. And therefore, in order to achieve even more voters, these people are going to try to prove their arguments, to prove their opinion through arguments, and they are going to even more incentivize for information. And we are going to have a heated debate on this particular issue. And we are going to have a polarized society that one search arguments for another, and the one that the side search arguments for a side and the one for another one. Therefore, we are going to have an improvement in the society. Thank you, and please, of course.
Today we, as the opposition team, claim that we don't need referendums. We claim that it won't lead the state to any improvements, and it won't benefit nor the decision making, nor the situation in the country. People elect their government. They go to the elections and choose the one who they trust, and the one who they think will best represent their views. And this is the main principle of representative democracy about which we are speaking today. They choose the one that they think will decide on the important issues and matters in the way they want. So we claim that we don't need sovereign referenda on deciding the important issues. We claim that it's just unrealistic to expect ordinary citizens to be interested and qualified and to have informed opinions and to be able to decide on these important changes. So, no, thank you. The first point of our opponents was about the democracy and that people should intervene in the decision making. And what we are saying is that parliamentarians are the qualified people who have higher education, who know, no thank you, who know how the system works, how the laws are implemented, and they know what the decision will be the best. And we think that if the person elects the parliamentarian, he trusts him, and he should trust him all the issues that will be decided then. No, thank you. Our opponents were also saying about the fact that we lack interest of the people, and people are not quite interested. No, thank you. Yes, people are not interested because it's not it's not what they should be worried about. They should be worried about their lives, about their families, about their work. No, thank you. But they shouldn't be worried about what laws will be implemented, or will we have this or that. They should think about themselves. But and the government is created for people, and it should work for people, and it is for what the government is created. Yes, please. Me?
This referendum is called by people. If people are not disciplined, if people are not qualified, they won't ask for any referendum.
But you are claiming that they are not. You are claiming that they are pathetic, and you need a referendum to make them interested. So I think that you are just contradicting yourselves. Our second argument was that people become. So, no. Our opponents were also speaking about the fact that we will incentivize people in the referendums, but the system of incentives has already been working, and on all of the 9 referendums in the UK, this system worked, and we still are seeing the low turnout of people, and it means that the system of incentives doesn't work, and it won't make more people to come and to vote. Our opponents were also saying about the moral issues, but they just contradicting themselves, because in their definition they were saying that they will be speaking about the important issues that would be followed by the law. But what moral issues can be followed by the law? We think that it's not just the case. Speaking about the referendum campaigns, we think that it will be just impossible to educate all the people, to provide the proper information for all the people of the country, and to distill this information to their minds so that they could create a good decision. Moreover, they have no will to do it, so these decisions would be undesirable and inefficient. So, speaking about our constructive case, no, thank you. Our second argument is that people are not concerned with the issue of the day, with the issue that is discussed on the referendum, but they are concerned with the government of the day. There is evidence that people use this opportunity, the opportunity of referendum in a different way. That was asserted that the referendum is often used to express a view on the governing party rather than the issue in question. The 1997 referendum on Scottish devolution voters saw as a secondary opportunity in less than 6 months to indicate why they thought the Tory party was unpopular. It was pointed out that the Yes campaign for the 1997 Welsh devolution referendum had an airplane flying across South Wales trailing a banner which said "Vote Yes, Vote Blair," which really had nothing to do with the question being posed on the referendum. It means that referendum is just a place where you can way I can come and say, okay, I'm not satisfied with this parliamentarian, so I won't, so to make the situation bad for him, I won't vote for him on this issue. It means that it means that they just don't vote on the referendum issues, but they vote on the government of the day. And our third argument is that referendums are too costly. We stand, if we are going to hold a referendum, we should spend approximately $120 billion on it. We think as it's just inefficient, this money could be directed on other more important issues, on more important sources. For this money could be directed to healthcare or the education systems. So we think that it's just not efficient. So we, as the opposition team, today have proved you that the referendum is an unnecessary option, that won't bring any benefits, not to the government, not to the people, because people are affected. We don't have a will, and the decision making won't be so efficient as if they had this will. So we think that it's an necessary tool to decide on the important issues, and that it's the work of the parliamentarians to decide to implement or to not implement this law. It's not the matter of the people, and not having a referendum is the main point of a representative democracy. So we think that we have proved here all this, so we're back to the point.
What the proposition stands for today is that in the world that we are living today, well, we have to balance these two systems that represent a country. Well, we have on one side the representative democracy. Well, when we see that legislative body takes the decision for the people and takes all the solutions that furthermore are going to have an impact on the population. And on the other side, we have this principle of direct democracy in which the power is given to the people. Well, what the proposition wants to show you today is the fact that in these representative democracies that we are talking about today, we need to implement these referenda which are an advantage that we take out from these direct democracies, and to implement it in the representative democracy, to make sure that the people and the one that really matter in a democracy and in a state are better represented as we identify these problems in our nowadays system, the fact that people are not good represented by us in time being. Further, I'm going to talk about three major points. First of all, I'm going to talk about the measure of control. Second of all, about the capacity of the people. And third of all, about the impact on the society. And in order to show you the fact that we do need these referenda. First of all, let's talk about this measure of control. Well, what today in today's society we have, and how exactly people are involved in the decisional process of a society, is the fact that they vote from 4 in 4 years for their representatives. Well, we see the fact that our problems with politicians and with the people that represent us is the fact that they do not keep their promises. It's the fact that in their political platforms, we see the fact that they bring us all sorts of solutions they are going to implement and all those benefits they are going to bring to us, but we see through the time the fact that they do not keep their promises, and the fact that well, in these 4 years when we leave them government our country and we leave them to lead us and represent us, well, they do not do this. They do not do what they are meant to. Yes, ma'am.
What's about the fact that even those people, they want some decisions to be taken, but still these decisions are not taken because the current system, the referendums can be falsified easily, and their decisions will still be not implemented by those governmentalists, and they will still break their decisions. It will not improve anything.
Well, the fact that referenda can be falsified is not such a big argument, as we see the fact that electoral voting, well, they are also falsified, and the fact that politicians do involve in this. What we want to say is the fact that we cannot say that every referendum will be falsified and so on, because it's not such an easy thing to do this. It's the fact that people turn out to vote and so on. It's not like it would be falsified. Moving forward in what I was explaining is the fact that these politicians do not respect what they promised to us, and is the fact that they do not represent anymore what we stand for from the beginning. And in these 4 years, they fail in taking measures that would benefit us, as they think more about their own interests and about how they could make money from us. So we see the fact that we want this referenda to be a measure of control, in which we can, in these 4 years, make sure the fact that these decisions that are taken on important issues that will furthermore impact our society and bring either benefits or negative impact on ourselves, are going to be good ones. And we see the fact that we need politicians to take in consideration our opinion on certain issues that are, as we said, of general interest and that would affect people. Well, we see the fact that we need people and we need their own decision throughout these 4 years. In order for the decision would be a good one and would reflect the people's wishes, we see the fact that politicians fail at doing this. So we need this referendum in order to make people vote for their own wishes, and in order to that politician would take a measure that all the society wants and the majority of the people consider it's the good one. More than that, they said that some politicians do not know what they are doing, so why should we let people decide? Well, we see the fact that the solutions they are taking are affecting the people, not the politicians. More than that, we see that the people are the ones that suffer from the decisions. I'm going to move forward to my second point, the capacity of the people and why exactly they are legitimate to vote in this referenda. We see that the team opposition says today the fact that people are not able to inform and to vote and to analyze a political platform that they say they are capable to analyze this political platform with which politician came with, but they are not capable to analyze on general interest issues such as problems of abortion and so on. So we see the fact that in 2007 in Poland there was a referendum on abortion in which 87% of the people turned out to vote, and it was taking consideration. We see the fact that this hairdresser that Team Opposition talked about today and said the fact that, well, a hairdresser should not have the right to vote in a referendum because she doesn't know anything. We see the fact that this issue of abortion, let's say, affects her directly, and she needs to impose her own opinion on that. No, thank you. And we see the fact that People should say to us that no, people should be worried about their lives and not about what politicians do. But we see the fact that what politicians do is what represents our lives, and we see the fact that what politicians do reflects how our lives are going to be in the next years. Then I'm going to talk about the impact on the society and how exactly about this low turnout vote and so on. We see the fact that in present elections and so on, people do not turn out and vote. It's because they do not trust this political platform, and it's because they do not trust anymore and they do not want to vote for something that does not represent them. And we see the fact that this referendum will help them vote for their own, to take decisions on their own, as we see that politicians will go on their decisions, so the trust in the politicians will raise, and so will the turnout of the vote. Well, we more than that see that the education of the society that we will have, as my colleague said, and more than that they raised us the problem of money and of cost, and some will be the sons of money. Well, we see the fact that we as a society take a risk to lose some money in order to not to have bad decisions taken, and in order not to have a negative impact on the society based on the fact that the decisions that politicians take today are not anymore in the interest of the society but in their own interest. And we see the fact that referenda are a measure that needs to be implemented.
Thank you, and please propose.
House would call silent election.
So good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. I'm the third speaker of the opposition team. As I'm the third speaker of the opposition, I will elaborate upon everything that has been already said. I will show you what we have so far in these debates. So I hope in the end of my speech you will vote for you will decide to vote for the opposition, because I will prove you that our opponents will not be able to achieve their goal. They will not be able to achieve better democracy. In order to prove you that, I will draw your attention to some points I want to emphasize your attention to. So, first of all, we claim that we will not be able to achieve better democracy, because if we introduce referendum as well, we can representative democracy. It's certainly threatened by the use of referendums, because referendum puts people before the government. The sovereignty of parliament becomes the sovereignty of people. No, thank you. Introducing what we claim is that introducing direct democracy into the political system challenges the indirect representative democracy. That is the main essence and the essence of democracy. So we claim that representation is enough for the people, because people have a right to choose their government. They have no, thank you. So our opponents claimed that it's just not enough. But what we are going to say here is that the system with the general elections is the same. So that's not a point, and we claim that only representation is enough for the citizenry. Another point I'm going to elaborate upon is that our opponents claimed that people will be able to decide upon important issues, and they especially draw our attention to the moral issues. But dear judges, that sounds just ridiculous, because how can we decide on moral issues, and how can we constrain and change it by law? Our opponents in our opponents in that definition claimed that important issues will be controlled by law, so no thank you. So it's just ridiculous and unreasonable, no thank you, unreasonable to claim that they will be going to decide some issues on moral level. The next point, no thank you, the next point concerns the involvement of people. Our opponents claim that after introducing referendum there will be democratic awakening, but that is not true. We will not be able to achieve it because people are not popular with the referendums, as opposition team has already proved you. No thank you. So what we are, another point I'm going to elaborate upon is that our opponents were trying to compare the knowledge of the parliamentarians and the ordinary people, that the ordinary people will be able to decide on issues of great social importance, but that is not so, because as we
Madam, please.
no, oh, okay, yes.
Do you realize that democracy is a problem of right to do so, not about capability and so on?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Okay. So, do you realize that people should have the right to decide that it affects them directly?
Yes, we really agree that we agree that those issues will concern, they directly affect the public because they concern the important issues. But what we claim is that it would be great that if people were able to decide on those issues, but that isn't so, because the public isn't so educated. It will lead to because the process, the primary process of the decision making is too complex. So it will be too complex for people to decide on those issues. As a result, we will have ungrounded decisions. I should just ask you, judges, what more should we implement this sovereign referendum thinking? Our opponents proposed as a policy, they are going to implement educational campaigns, but it will not help, because on the practical level it is impossible to make well-informed all the citizenry, so that all the citizenry will be able to decide on those issues. Then I also want to say that thank you, to draw your attention that we shouldn't implement these referendums, because as I already hope I managed to prove to you that these referendums are not effective, that issues will not be solved because people are not popular with it, turnout is too small. We gave you the example of the United Kingdom, where only 60%, where only 60% of the people came to that referendum. So this is the best proof. Referendums are not popular with people. No, thank you. Another point, no, thank you. Another point I'm going to draw attention is that these referendums are not effective. So what for should we spend big sums of money to implement those referendums with the educational campaigns? No, thank you. Also our opponents claimed that they want the citizenry to decide on important issues. They want the decisions to be made, to be taken, but these decisions will not be taken because first of all, the decisions can be falsified, and that was the main point of our constructive case. Also, our opponents claim that politicians do not keep the promises of the citizenry, and that what we are going to say is that they will not be, the politicians will not stop doing it. They still will not keep those promises. So the results will be falsified as well. So that once again proves you that we shouldn't today implement the referendum, which is ineffective, unreasonable, and unbeneficial for their nation. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, I hope I managed to persuade you that today there is no necessity, any reasonable claim to implement the referendums to decide on important issues. And if I manage to persuade you, I'd beg to oppose the motion. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time. So, what's the main aim of our opponents was? It was to improve representative democracy, and so as to do it, we need to put other people before the government, dear ladies and gentlemen. That's what they said. But what we say, in fact, representative democracy will be weakened by having those sovereign referendums on important issues. Because representative democracy is in fact about choosing representatives to the parliament, and the fact that those people will be put before the government in fact contradicts the mere idea of this representative democracy, because those representatives will not be needed anymore, dear ladies and gentlemen. Also about this system of referendums. In fact, what we claim, what the main aim of holding the referendum is in fact to have the final decision that will change in with the mood of the public, and that will make our public satisfied in the end. But in fact, the system is not efficient enough. It is not working in that way, dear ladies and gentlemen, nowadays. We may think, but it may be improved, this system of referendums, but it's impossible to do so, because to do it we need to have people's opinion. That was the main aim of our opponents, to hear what other people want, and in that way we will have the direct democracy. That's what they are value. But first of all, people's opinion will be not taken into consideration during those referendums. This aim will not be achieved, because during referendums those results are falsified. Dear ladies and gentlemen, that was one of our arguments, by the way, because the results are falsified, the desired outcome of those people is not taken into consideration, and the laws that those people want to, they are not taken, and yes, they are not implemented. The second point about this system is the fact that people are not going to those referendums because those referendums are not popular with the people. And so, let's agree, so as to have a reliable results of the referendum, we need to have really a high turnout to the referendum, because the more people go to the referendum, the more opinions are represented during it. But in fact, those referendums are not popular, and the status quo is the best proof of it. And the fact that we will implement it, or according to some laws, will not mean that those people will inevitably visit those referendums. That is why it's not needed. What's more, dear ladies and gentlemen, those decisions will be not well-grounded, because those people, as we claim, are not educated to make well-grounded decisions. Our opponents try to compare the knowledge of those politicians and those ordinary people. It's just ridiculous, because those politicians, they stay in this environment of those policies and laws for much longer time than those citizens, and because of this fact, they are much more educated and they are much more capable of making those important decisions that will affect our public, dear ladies and gentlemen. Alright, people will have the ability to voice their opinions, but it will not improve the politicians' work, because those opinions will be not well-grounded enough, and it's not what we need. Those people just indicate their mood on the governing party of the day and not on the issue itself, because they're not concerned with it. They are already accustomed that those politicians take the decisions for themselves. What's more, what we claim, those referendums are not cost-effective at all, because every referendum holds approximately the same as the general elections, and a lot
lot of money is allocated on it, so it's not needed. Also, the main point of our opponents was about the fact that politicians don't keep their promises and that our citizens do not trust them. But first of all, if they did not trust them, they would not go and choose them during those general elections and those parliamentary elections. So that's the best proof that our citizens do trust our politicians. That's why they vote for them. And it will not be changed. Politicians still will not keep their promises because they will not be persuaded that much. They will still be able to falsify the results. They will still be able to influence the results, and nothing would be changed. That's why we claim that the status quo is the best option for us, because those politicians are the only people who are capable of making really right decisions on important issues that might affect our nation. So thank you for your attention, and back to you to oppose the motion.
And I'd like to call the side proposition to conclude the debate for us.
The state's duty is to protect interests, and the opposition failed to show us how by representative democracy people's interests are actually really represented at the real meaning, at the real scale and the practical scale. I will structure my reply speech on 4 major points. First of all, I will talk about incapability. Second of all, I will talk about representativity. Third of all, about logic. And fourth of all, about moral issues. Well, let's begin with the beginning. Well, we see that if we are talking about implementing binding referendums, we are talking about we are talking about the fact that nobody will be incapable. Because first of all, politicians are capable when they are able to represent interests. Politicians are capable when citizens have an engagement with the political system. Still, politicians are incapable when they cannot represent the state's interest. We see that politicians are incapable of gaining some votes when they falsify these these referendums. But we see the fact that if we implement this kind of referendums, we will solve this whole problem of incapability from the politicians, this whole problem of falsifying these referendum turnouts, and so on. Also, chief opposition's argument is that, the low turnout would be the reason why we should not adopt this motion. But at the end of the day, because of the low turnout, should we not have normal elections anymore? Should we take out elections just because we have a low turnout? At the end of the day, the answer is no, ladies and gentlemen. Now, passing to my second point about representativity. Well, we would love these politicians to fully represent us, because representativity at the real meaning means full representation. Now we cannot have this in that particular kind of democracy, in representative democracy. That's why we are trying to implement this kind of referendum. In which we can approach this. Approach an improvement of democracy, and therefore we can approach an improvement of representativity and approach this real meaning of representativity after all. Now, passing to the third point of my reply speech about the logic. Their argument is that we shouldn't invest in such things because they are so costly. But also, on the other hand, we have on one hand the cost. We have we agree with the fact that they may cost, but we have on the other hand democracy and principles. We have on the other hand what the state should be, what the state should do, how citizens should be, the citizens' interests. And in taking them in comparison, we see that it's the state's duty to invest in representing these citizens. It's the state's duty to invest in. To invest in its own citizens that have the right to take a decision, that have the right to change to change a law. And this law issue leads me to my fourth point of my reply speech. We have been asked through this whole debate how moral issue can make a law and so on, and we consider that. We'll try to give them an example, but they never took our POI at the end of the day. But actually, let me give you an example. We have a law on abortion that people may not consider good for them, may not agree with, and we will have this referendum, this binding referendum that will help them change this law on this particular moral issue. That's what we are talking. That's why we are defining these important issues among the others, such as moral issues too. Because at the end of the day, they can make laws, and at the end of the day, anything that people want in a democratic state and in a truly democratic state can make laws. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the debate. I just would like you to leave the room for a few minutes before we go to decide.